Let me ask you something, and I want you to genuinely think about this before I give you the answer. Arsenal are top of the Premier League by 9 points, unbeaten in 14 matches, through to the Champions League quarter-finals, still alive in the FA Cup. By almost every serious measure available, this is the strongest Arsenal team in a generation. So why does Sunday feel like the most important 90 minutes of this entire season? I will be honest with you, I have been thinking about this final all week. I watched the Leverkusen game on Tuesday night. I saw what this squad is capable of when everything clicks. And even then, sitting there watching that second half, this Sunday was the only thing I could think about. Because every Arsenal supporter I know, every message I've received this week, every comment on this channel, it all comes back to the same feeling. Not excitement, not confidence, something closer to anticipation mixed with anxiety. And I think that feeling is telling us something important. It is not fear of Manchester City. It is not fear of Haaland or Guardiola or Wembley. It is something closer to home than that. It is something that lives inside this Arsenal squad quietly, persistently, and has done for 3 years now. This group of players, the ones Arteta has built and developed and trusted with his system, have never won a major trophy together, not one. And on Sunday afternoon at 4:30 London time at Wembley Stadium, they get their first real chance to change that. That is what this final is actually about, not the league table, not the form guide. I am Amelia. This is Amelia Arsenal Update, and this is your full pre-match analytical breakdown of the 2025-26 Carabao Cup Final. Let us get into it. Right, before we go anywhere near tactics, I want to make sure we are all reading this fixture the same way, because I think the context here is being slightly misframed in parts of the coverage, and it matters. The narrative you will hear most this week is simple. Manchester City are wounded. They went out of the Champions League 5-1 on aggregate to Real Madrid. They have won once in their last 5 matches. They are 9 points behind Arsenal in the league. They arrive at Wembley in a state of recovery. All of that is factually correct. Every word of it, and none of it means Arsenal can simply show up on Sunday and collect a trophy. This is where a lot of supporters get caught out. And honestly, I understand why. Here is the reality that sits underneath the surface. Manchester City under Guardiola have won this competition more times than any other club in the modern era. They understand the architecture of a cup final in a way that very few squads do. Losing Haaland is fit and available. Guardiola confirmed that himself this week. And one-off finals by their very nature strip away the comfort of league context and replace everything with a single high-pressure 90 minutes, where one moment, one decision, one lapse in concentration can determine the entire outcome. So yes, Arsenal are the favourites, they deserve to be, but what I want to do today is go deeper than that surface reading. I want to show you exactly where this match gets won or lost, the tactical realities sitting behind the headlines, the decisions Arteta has already made before a ball is kicked that reveal more about his thinking than any press conference ever could. Because when you understand those things, you understand what Sunday is genuinely about. So here is the central question I want to explore today. Can Arsenal perform at their highest level without 3 of their most important players? Because right now, Martin Odegaard, and Timber and Eberechi Eze are all fitness doubts heading into Wembley. Arteta has confirmed he will make final decisions after Saturday's training session. He has given nothing away publicly, which is exactly what you would expect from a manager who values tactical uncertainty as a weapon in itself. But let us think carefully about what the absence of each of those players actually means for Arsenal's system, not just for the squad list, for the system. Start with Odegaard. People describe him as Arsenal's creative player, their technical leader, their captain. All of that is true, but his specific tactical function is more precise than those descriptions suggest. Odegaard is Arsenal's primary half-space receiver. He finds pockets between defensive and midfield lines. He takes the ball under pressure in tight areas. He plays quick combinations that create openings before defences can reorganise. And he gives Arsenal a quality of unpredictability in the final third that is genuinely difficult to plan against as an opposing manager. His absence, and he has now missed 7 matches since early March, does not collapse Arsenal's system, but it does change its texture. Without him, Arsenal become marginally more predictable in the spaces between City's lines. The movement is still there, the pressing triggers are still there, but that specific ability to unlock a compact, organised defence through subtle positional intelligence that is reduced. Now, Timber, and this one I think is more structurally significant for this specific match than people are giving it credit for. This detail matters more than people realise. Here is the thing about Timber at left-back in Arsenal's system. During build-up phases, he does not behave like a conventional fullback. He tucks into a central position rather than staying wide. What that creates effectively is a back three shape, one that allows Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi to push higher with genuine security behind them. That is not just a stylistic preference, that is a system mechanic that enables Arsenal's midfield press to function from a position of structural safety. Without Timber, Lewis Skelly or Calafiori step in. Both are talented players. Neither replicates that specific positional behaviour with the same automaticity that Timber has developed over months of working within this system. Small adjustment on paper, on the pitch against a City team with Haaland waiting to exploit any space left in behind, it is a detail that matters. And then there is Ace. His situation actually looks the most positive of the three. He reassured everyone himself after coming off against Leverkusen on Tuesday night. And the indications from the camp are that his knock is not considered serious. But he is worth mentioning here because of what he offers specifically in the context of Odegaard's absence. If Odegaard cannot go, Eze is the most natural candidate to operate in that half-space role. His profile is different, more direct, more explosive, but it is a credible option at Wembley level. Now, before we go further, and I know some of you will be thinking this, here is the counter-argument, and it is a fair one. Arsenal have navigated 7 matches without Odegaard, and they have not dropped. They beat Everton 2-0 without him. They eliminated Bayer Leverkusen from the Champions League without him. This system is not dependent on any single player, including the captain. Arteta has built a squad with genuine depth precisely to handle this kind of situation. But there is a difference between surviving without a player across a league fixture and thriving without a player in a one-off Wembley final. And that difference, that very specific difference, is where the real analytical question for Sunday lies. Every Arsenal supporter knows that difference. We have felt it before. Right, now I want to show you something, and I genuinely think this is the most important tactical layer of this entire match. More important than the injury doubts, more important than the head-to-head record. And it has been significantly underreported in everything I have read this week. Here is the part most people have missed entirely. Arsenal have scored 22 goals from set pieces this season. 22, the highest figure in England, not just in the Premier League, in the country across all divisions. Their delivery, their movement patterns, their aerial presence, their physicality from dead balls. This is not a strength in the ordinary sense. It is a system. It has been coached, rehearsed and deployed with the kind of precision that reflects months of deliberate preparation. Now, look at what Manchester City are bringing to Wembley from a defensive standpoint. Gvardiol is not available. He suffered a tibial fracture back in January, required surgery and is out for the season. Now, Gvardiol is not simply a quality centre-back. He is City's primary aerial presence on the left side of defence. He wins headers. He is strong and dominant in the air. He organises the space around him at set pieces. He is gone. John Stones is a doubt. He has been managing an ankle injury. He was on the bench for the Real Madrid second leg, but his capacity to go the full 90 minutes at Wembley remains uncertain. And Stones, beyond his ball-playing quality, is an important aerial presence in City's defensive set-piece structure. And in goal, confirmed by Guardiola himself, James Trafford starts. Trafford is a capable goalkeeper. He is not at this point in his career a Wembley Cup Final goalkeeper in terms of experience. He is being tested at the highest level of domestic knockout football on Sunday. So put all three of those facts together. City's aerial defensive cover is at its weakest point of the entire season. Their set-piece structure is compromised by the absence of key personnel. And their goalkeeper is stepping into an occasion that will test him in ways no league game has done this year, against a team that scores more set-piece goals than anyone in the country. That is not a minor tactical edge, that is a structural mismatch. And you can be absolutely certain that Arteta's analysts have identified it, planned around it, and built a significant portion of Arsenal's offensive preparation for Sunday around exploiting it directly. When Saliba, Gabriel and the rest of Arsenal's aerial threat arrive at set pieces on Sunday, they are not arriving with optimism. They are arriving with a rehearsed plan against a defence that is measurably less equipped than at any other point this season to handle it. If Arsenal score from a set piece on Sunday, and the probability of that happening is genuinely significant, it will not be fortune. It will be the consequence of months of preparation, meeting a very specific defensive vulnerability at exactly the right moment. Now, I want to talk about something that most people will process as a routine selection decision, and I want to convince you it is actually something much more revealing than that. This is where things get really interesting. It is widely expected that Kepa Arrizabalaga starts in goal for Arsenal on Sunday. Arteta has not publicly confirmed it. He deflected the question at his press conference on Friday with the same measured "we have one more session" line he used for every fitness question. Deliberate, controlled, telling nothing, but the pattern is established across this entire season. Kepa starts cup games, David Raya starts league games. Most people read that as straightforward rotation management. Here is what I think it actually is, and I will admit when I first started thinking about this properly, it shifted my entire reading of how Arteta is approaching Sunday. Arteta decided at the start of this season that in high-stakes knockout football where the realistic possibility of a penalty shootout exists, he wants a goalkeeper whose record in exact that scenario is elite. Kepa's penalty-saving record in shootouts is documented at the highest level of the game. That is not a coincidence. That is a deliberate strategic calculation. And that calculation tells you something very specific about how Arteta is entering this final. He is not walking into Wembley assuming Arsenal will control the game, dominate possession and win comfortably before the question of penalties even arises. He is walking in with full preparation for every version of this match, including the version where it is tight, where it goes to extra time and where it comes down to spot kicks. That is not pessimism. That is the mindset of a manager who has studied what cup finals actually look like and decided to prepare for all of it, not just the comfortable version. That decision alone tells you more about Arteta's genuine assessment of Sunday than anything he said in that press conference. Let me give you my honest reading of where Manchester City are right now, because it matters for understanding the psychology of Sunday, not just the tactics. Guardiola gave his squad 2 days off after the Real Madrid result. Think about what that decision actually communicates. 2 days off is not a logistical choice, it is a psychological one. It is an acknowledgement that the emotional weight of a 5-1 aggregate European exit needed managed space before the squad could genuinely refocus on Sunday. That is a reasonable management decision. It is also an honest reflection of how significant that defeat was, not just in terms of results, but in terms of what it means for the City squad's confidence and self-image. And here is something I want you to consider. This is the part of the story that I think changes how you should read Sunday's dynamic entirely. The drought narrative, the nearly men conversation, the when do they finally win something discussion that Arsenal supporters know all too well, that conversation now belongs to Manchester City. This City squad has not won silverware together. An entire campaign without a trophy is a real possibility for a club that has dominated English football for the best part of a decade. I know what that feeling is like from an Arsenal perspective. We all do. And I will tell you, honestly, watching that weight transfer to City's side of the equation this season has been one of the more unexpected subplots of this entire campaign. That weight is sitting in Guardiola's dressing room. And whether it produces a determined response or a paralysed one is the one variable that tactical analysis cannot fully predict. What I can say analytically is this: teams arriving at a one-off final in genuine emotional recovery mode, operating at reduced confidence, having taken a planned psychological break from a significant blow, those teams tend not to front foot their opponents. They tend to sit deeper, look for moments on the counter, try to make the game difficult and uncomfortable, and hope for a set piece or a transition moment to create something, which against a team that presses from the front with Arsenal's energy and dominates dead ball situations with Arsenal's precision is not a particularly comfortable strategic position to be in. Right, here is where I land on this, and I am going to be direct. Arsenal's advantages heading into Sunday are not just structural, they are layered, multiple overlapping edges that point consistently in the same direction. Set-piece dominance against a depleted aerial defence. A 14-match unbeaten run against a team that has won once in 5. Tactical clarity and system familiarity in every position versus a City squad in emotional and logistical recovery. A goalkeeper specifically selected and prepared for the possibility of a shootout. A manager who has planned this preparation in forensic detail against a manager who, for the first time in years, is managing genuine uncertainty about his own squad's readiness going into a final. Those are real advantages. They are not media generated. They are the product of what Arsenal have built over this season and what City are currently working through. But I am going to be honest with you about the risk, because that is what serious analysis requires. And if I am being completely transparent, this is the part of the analysis that kept me up a little longer than everything else this week. The risk has one name: Erling Haaland. I have watched Saliba and Gabriel operate across this entire season, and they are without any doubt the best centre-back partnership in England. Their positional discipline, their aerial dominance, their communication, their composure in 1-versus-1 situations, it is elite level. But Haaland in a one-off final is a categorically different proposition to Haaland in a routine league fixture. He scored in the last Carabao Cup Final he played in. He scores in big games with a regularity that defies team form and defies context. If City create 2 or 3 moments of genuine quality in and around their striker, through a Bernardo Silva pass, a Rodri diagonal, a counter-attack off a City set-piece, Haaland is capable of converting any one of those moments into a goal. Arsenal's back four cannot afford to switch off for a single sustained passage of play, because if they do, that is the moment, that is the one that can define the result. I think every single Arsenal supporter watching on Sunday will feel that in their chest every time Haaland receives the ball. That tension is real. It should be. Respect it. Let me bring this to a wider perspective, because what happens on Sunday matters far beyond 90 minutes at Wembley. If Arsenal win the Carabao Cup on Sunday, the significance extends well past the trophy itself. For the first time, this group of players will know what it feels like to win a major competition together under Arteta. And I want to be careful here not to make that sound like a psychological cliche, because it is not. It is a real and measurable shift in how a squad understands itself. Teams that win know they can win, and teams that carry that knowledge approach every subsequent high-pressure moment differently. A Wembley victory does not simply secure domestic silverware. It fuels the confidence of a squad already well positioned across 4 competitions. It answers, at least partially, the question that has surrounded this team for 3 years. It gives them something to build on in the Champions League quarter-final and something to protect and extend across the title run-in. This is where the season could genuinely turn. Now, if Arsenal lose, and I want to address this directly because I think we should, the situation becomes considerably more complicated, not because the quadruple dream mathematically collapses, it does not, but because this would have been the most winnable cup final of the Arteta era, the strongest Arsenal team, a City side in genuine difficulty, a structural mismatch at set pieces, and they did not get over the line. That kind of result has a way of sitting in a squad's collective psychology in ways that are difficult to quantify, but genuinely consequential when the next big moment arrives. I am not predicting that outcome. I am simply being honest about what it would mean, because I think that honesty is what you come here for. And honesty, I think it is what every Arsenal supporter deserves heading into Sunday. Not false reassurance, but a clear-eyed account of what is at stake in both directions. Before we close, here is what to watch for over the next 48 hours. Saturday's training session is the decisive one. Arteta has made that clear. Odegaard and Timber will be assessed. The lineup will take shape. And the goalkeeper decision, which, as I said earlier, reveals more about Arteta's tactical thinking than people appreciate, will be confirmed. If Odegaard is available, even as an option from the bench, it changes the dynamic of the second half if Arsenal need a creative catalyst in a tight game. If Timber is fit and starts, Arsenal's left side build-up mechanic is restored, and the structural balance of the system improves in a way that matters against City's forward press. When Sunday arrives, watch the set-piece delivery early. If Arsenal are generating clean deliveries into City's box in the first 20 minutes and testing Trafford under aerial pressure, the plan is working. Watch how Rice positions himself relative to Rodri, whether he is pressing aggressively or operating in a positional shadow. That specific decision will tell you which version of Arsenal's defensive structure Arteta has chosen for this occasion, and watch Haaland's movement in the opening 15 minutes. How he sets up against Saliba and Gabriel, how the City midfield tries to serve. That will give you an immediate and accurate read on how Guardiola is constructing City's attacking threat and what Arsenal's back four will need to manage for the full 90 minutes. And this is where we land. For 3 years, the conversation around Arsenal has come back to the same question. Are they good enough? Every time they have come close to answering it, something has intervened. A result at the wrong moment, an injury at the wrong time, a decision that went against them when the margin was smallest. Every one of us watching has felt those moments. We know exactly what they cost. The evidence this season says that question has been answered. Arsenal are good enough. The form, the structure, the tactical clarity, the squad depth, it is all there. It has been demonstrated consistently over 14 unbeaten matches and across 4 separate competitions. But Sunday is something different. Sunday is not about whether Arsenal are good enough. Sunday is about whether they are ready. And there is a distance between those two things, small and yet enormous, that only one thing can measure. You cannot find it in a form table or a tactical board or an injury report. You find it in the moments when the pressure is at its absolute highest, when the occasion is at its largest, and when everything that has been built over 3 years of work is sitting on 90 minutes at Wembley. Arsenal have spent 3 years narrowing that distance. On Sunday afternoon, they get their first real chance to close it entirely. I will be back with the full post-match breakdown on Sunday evening, so make sure you are subscribed and have notifications on, because that is going to be one of the most important breakdowns we have done on this channel. But before you go, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what you were watching for on Sunday. Tell me the moment you think decides this final. Tell me whether you think this is the day it finally happens for this group. I read every single one, and right now, genuinely, I want to know where your head is at, because we are all in this together on Sunday. This is AM Aliyah. This is AM Aliyah. Arsenal update. I will see you on the other side of Sunday.